Welcome to Breaking Par with Bernard Sheridan, the golf instruction podcast that helps you take control of your game. Now, here's your host, the founder of Par Breakers Golf Academy and certified Golf Channel Swing Fix instructor, Bernard Sheridan.
Liam, welcome to Breaking Par. Thanks for taking some time out today.
Hey Bernard, it's great to be here and talk some golf with you today.
So give us a little bit of insight into how you got involved in this sport and what made you decide to work on golf and the mental side of the game.
Yeah, absolutely. So I started golf when I was pretty young and always loved the game and had a fascination. And so I come from a scientific background, did a science degree and then later went on to study sports psychology. And so I've always had this scientific approach to golf in my own game, analysing things and what's working, what's not working, and then asking a lot of good questions. So over the time, we've really started to develop an idea for the game by studying professionals and asking questions like, what do professionals do that amateurs don't, or what are the differences there between the successful and the unsuccessful? And so by studying these players, we've kind of developed a philosophy on the game, and that's called complete play golf. And so we really address all 5 essential elements of the game because we noticed that golfers, professional golfers, they have a swing coach, they have their caddy, they have their equipment representative, they have their nutritionist, and all these aspects of the game come together, and that's really helps them perform their best.
So essentially then, the program that you put together, you studied all these different things, and then you've actually added some of those things into your program, or do you find that you're more adding new things to what is already existing to make your program a little bit different than anything else that's out there?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm the mental game coach, and so I focus on the mental game, but also the other elements to help golfers have a complete approach to the game. So we really noticed that golfers, they focus on a few essential elements, but they neglect quite a few others. And so we've developed a program, Think Well, Play Great, and that's our first, really addressing one of the first elements that we really feel is a weakness, really helping golfers learn and apply a mental approach that's used by PGA Tour winners. And so that's been a big focus, and getting golfers to not just read it, but learn and apply and take action. So there's a big focus in making it easy to read and easy to apply on a golf course.
Well, I know that I found that a lot of players that I deal with, when they start to get into the mental side of it, or I want to say when they're thinking about different things, their mind gets bogged down and they can't really do what they want to do or basically achieve an athletic movement because they're thinking a little bit too much. So in what you work with students, is there things that you do to help them clear their mind so they can have a freer swing and things of that nature?
Yeah, absolutely. So mental interference is really a big problem. It really prevents golfers from executing shots in the way that they've learned. And mental interference can occur in quite a few ways. So you have sometimes golfers have too many swing thoughts, and that activates the conscious side of the brain, which is very analytical and it causes big problems. Then you got the wrong emotional states, and that creates physical problems and also prevents golfers from executing their swing. But one of the big issues that I've noticed is that most golfers don't know how to be a good caddy for themselves when they play on a course. And so I see this creating a lot of mental game problems. And so basically there's 3 things that golfers need to do to be a good caddy and have a good caddy mind on a golf course. And the first one is provide positive and constructive self-talk. And so I really see a lot of golfers have a negative self-talk. And if you're a professional and had a caddy that was negative or wasn't constructive, you'd probably do a Robert Allenby and get rid of them. So yeah, that's a big problem there. The second, I would say that to have a good caddy mind, golfers need to be able to analyse and determine shot factors. So really consider all the variables like, the lie, your wind, your slope, and then really calculate the actual yardage and a good target for the shot. The final thing I'd say that really helps eliminate mental interference is to be able to get those thoughts from your conscious mind and convert them into either picture or feeling, because this is what activates the athletic part of the brain. The subconscious mind really relies on these pictures and feelings, and these send muscular impulses to the body when you have a good feeling or a good picture, and that really helps you swing the club.
Sure. Well, I believe too that in order for you to be able to create a shot, that you have to be able to feel what you want to do first. I know that with my students, I have them do that in their practice swing, kind of feel what they're trying to create. I think the problem with a lot of higher handicap, or the majority of players, is that they really don't know how to create a shot or feel what they need to do to create a shot. So they're kind of at a loss. And what I mean is, your players who are like your average 15 to 25 handicap, which is the bulk of people who play the game. So some of the things that you're suggesting, which is, for them to clear their mind, for them to have a game plan, to decide what they need to do, to have positive self-talk. I think that a lot of those players have difficulty with the positive self-talk issue because they're really not having positive results. So a lot of times what they do is they'll kind of beat themselves up. They'll call themselves stupid, or they'll say that they stink, or things like that. So as you were saying, being your own best coach or being your own best caddy out there, having positive things, or at least, in other words, the way I look at it is, if I am talking to a child, and they do something that's not correct, I usually don't say, "Don't do that. What are you doing? You're a dummy." I'll say, I wouldn't talk to them like that. I would say, "Hey, that's okay. You're learning this. You're going to make mistakes. So don't worry about it. Let's just worry about what we have to do next, and let's kind of think about what we have to do next to make it happen." And I think that so many people have a tendency to not talk to themselves that way, to be rough with themselves. But what they don't understand is that's really detrimental.
Totally agree. That's a good example.
So for you, is that one of the first things? Like, let's say that I was a 20 handicap and I was coming to you, and I said, "You know what? I think I got a pretty decent swing, but I'm having a lot of problems staying focused out there and keeping things together, and I lose my temper a lot out there. What would we do? What would you suggest, and what would we start with to get me on the right track?"
To begin, I would recommend that a player switches their focus from a score mindset to a process mindset. Too often we judge our score and the results we're getting, and that makes us frustrated because we're not at the place where we want to be, or we're not doing the things we want to do. So really shifting to the things that we actually have control over. So these are process goals. So you stick to your things like your pre-shot routine, or just gathering all the details for the shot, picking a good target, and then focusing on one swing key when you're over the ball. There's things like those kind of processes. Other things I recommend to players is that they have a process goal that correlates to a good score. So the statistics that actually correlate to a good score are like greens in regulation, the number of pars, number of birdies. So if you look at that on a scorecard, they have a really strong connection to the score that you shoot. So I usually give my players a little target and set them a goal that's within their reach. It could be 3, 4, 5 greens in regulation, or 10 pars, or something, whatever suits their handicap. And that really allows them a bit of leeway, a bit of flexibility. So if they have a bad hole, it doesn't matter, and that's going to happen. So when they focus on these little process goals, it takes their mind off the big problems, and They're just focused on what they need to do in the moment.
Now, do you think you just said the moment, and that's kind of leading right into this next question. Do you find that most players are just too worried about the outcome of what's going to happen as opposed to staying in the moment? In other words, or
Yeah.
also just worrying about maybe they made a bad shot or they just bogeyed or double bogeyed the last hole. So now they're so tied up in trying to make those shots back that they're looking ahead of before they even get to the shot that they're about to hit. I mean, it's. I think the biggest thing here is that staying in that moment is doing the little things at the time that you have to do them and not worry about what's ahead or what just happened.
That's yes, a really big problem, and that comes down to fear, and there can be no fear in the present moment because fear is a future-based emotion. So if golfers are actually truly present in the moment, there actually are no problems. So it's really hard to do. It's said over and over, but actually playing the shot in the moment is such the best way to play because there is no meaning, there is no actual fear because you're not thinking about what everything means in the big picture, what your score means, your position on the course. So really having that mindset of just being able to look at, hey, I've got to knock this on the green, or hey, I just got to take 2 putts here. This really simplifying things like that. And we always want to get ahead of ourselves and thinking about the whole big picture. But what I encourage golfers to do is bring that mindset down to that things right in front of them, focusing on just those little details that really help them actually execute the shot.
Now, is there any type of exercises that you use to help players be able to do that? Or is it just something that we just say, look, we just have to think about what we have to do right now and not worry about it? Or is there actually like maybe a drill or a exercise that you can go through, maybe not specifically when you're playing, but maybe when you're practicing to stay more in the moment, or maybe not playing at all?
Yeah, I really encourage golfers to engage their senses when they're on the golf course. It's easy to get caught up in your thoughts, and thinking isn't always the best thing to do. It can generate the negative emotions, it can take you out of the present moment. So when you engage your actual senses, it's a great time to do this is in between shots. When you're walking in between shots, you have a few minutes often, and this is the perfect time to really become present in the moment. So you might just look around, enjoy the scenery, smell the fresh air, really just become present in the moment by enjoying the actual atmosphere that you're in. And that kind of takes you out of the big grinding thinking motions that really cause a lot of problems. We don't have that much mental energy. We only have a certain amount of mental fuel on the golf course. So it's really important to conserve that. And that's why you kind of want to switch off and this really engage your senses to become present in the moment when you're playing shots on each hole.
So, in other words, and a good example of that, or a player who does that, I guess, comes to mind is Freddie Couples. What Freddie does in between shots is he doesn't talk with his caddy or his playing partners about golf. He'll talk about anything but golf. Now, for him, it's preferably sports because he loves sports. So he might talk about the basketball game the night before, or he might talk about a training camp for football that's coming up, or for whatever. I guess for him it would be Seattle Seahawks, but because he's originally from Seattle. But apparently he tries to not talk at all about what just happened or what's coming up. He just kind of banters about anything, and then once he gets to the shot, now he worries about what he has to do for that shot, as opposed to as they're walking to the ball saying, well, what do you think about, looks like I'm to the right of the green there, so So do you think I should maybe hit a lob shot here or something like that? So, and I know that a lot of players who are not professionals, that's kind of what they do, and they haven't even gotten to the ball yet to see really what the lie is or what they're going to have to do, and they're already making decisions as to what they have to do, or they're fretting over what maybe kind of trouble they're in, and when they get to the ball, it might not be as bad as they thought. So what you're saying is, either talk about something completely different, or if you're not a person who's real social with your playing partners, take in the scenery. I mean, when you're on a golf course, it's gorgeous, and who cannot enjoy that scenery?
Absolutely.
I know that for me, that's the biggest part of the game.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's really enjoying that time out there. A lot of us, we're all working, or we're just trying to get away, and golf is just a great escape. And so you really want to be enjoying yourself out there and not just be caught up in your score. And you find that when you do that, you actually start to relax and play better. So yeah, having that time and really switching off in between shots is something I really recommend. And then, you just need to turn that switch on when you're getting close to your ball, and you turn that switch on and you start gathering the data, start analysing what you need to do, where's a good target, and then start to program your mind and body with the shot you want to hit and let it go, and then switch off again.
Now, are there some things that you do with your students that basically help them focus mentally, or in other words, stay in it mentally a little bit better when they have to, via maybe exercise and nutrition? In other words, what should they be eating on the golf course? Should they be hydrating a lot even before they get to the golf course? We all know that the brain needs a lot of water to work at its optimal. So
absolutely.
So things like that, are those things that you incorporate also in your teaching?
Yeah. So to have a complete approach, golfers need to consider the whole picture, and so the physical aspect is a really important picture, because it really affects the whole body, it affects your mental clarity, it affects your physical capabilities. And so dehydration is a good example of a big problem. I heard a recent statistic that said 75% of golfers are actually dehydrated after they play. And so golfers need to make sure that they're hydrated by drinking plenty of water. There's nothing that is better than water to actually hydrate you. Having water-rich fruits is also another good example. But when there's sweet drinks, sugary drinks, or alcohol, that requires water, extra water to process, and that makes you more dehydrated. And that's a big problem, because when you're dehydrated, your mental clarity is not as good, and you're going to make poor decisions. Also, your muscles become less consistent, and it's going to make it more difficult to replicate your swing. So I also encourage golfers to have good energy by just consuming, got to kind of keep your energy up. Just make sure you have a good meal before you play. But then also just be snacking, could be fruit, could be bars, could be nuts, could be sandwich, something like that. And that's really important, and that's going to help ensure that you've got energy coming down the stretch, you've got mental clarity, you're making good decisions, and you have the energy to actually replicate your swing.
Yeah, I know that for me, I try to drink water on the way to the course, because a lot of times too, when you start to begin to feel thirsty, you're already dehydrated.
Exactly.
So if you start to hydrate beforehand, then when you get out there and just continue to sip water throughout the round, and then as you said too, I know that I'm big with nuts and things like that, because that's an easy snack to bring with me. I don't have to worry about that. Is it going to go bad throughout the round? It's going to stay fresh. And I can just, get that high protein in there to keep everything charged. And then, of course, at the turn, I always try to have something nutritious as opposed to like a hot dog, which I think most people have, and a beer. And the beer usually, too, I try to stay away from, because that actually starts to dehydrate. And also too, it might have a calming effect, which makes some people feel more relaxed, but it can also be a counter effect in focus, because they think that they're able to focus a little bit better because they're relaxed more. But then all of a sudden inebriation starts to kick in, and focus is lost, and I think that people more drink just because they go, you know what, I don't care. If I'm playing terrible, if I have a couple of beers, then I relax a little bit more and I swing freer, and but I know that for me, I've never shot my best score when I was drinking beer. I mean, it's never happened.
Yeah, I think golfers need to make a decision what they're playing for. If it's for fun, just to enjoy themselves, well, you can do that, no problem. But if you care about your score and you really want to perform at your best, you probably need to just choose the healthier options, and that's going to actually help your body be in its optimal state. So, really choosing, making your choices based on your actual goal. So whether that be fun or your score.
Now, also talking about the mental side of this game, do you have students do things to prepare for a round who are more a player who's trying to move to a higher level? So in other words, if they're going to play in a competition, or if they're going to play and they're really trying to lower their scores, I mean, they're serious about their game. Do you have them put together a game plan for the course that they're about to play beforehand to use that as part of their mental strategy as to what they're going to do?
Yeah, absolutely. So having a consistent pre-round routine really helps you have a more consistent execution and a more consistent round on the golf course. So being consistent in everything you do. So that can begin with your warm-up. Actually making sure you have your consistent routine where whatever it is for you, if it's going to the range or spending time chipping or putting, you got to have your actual routine and try to be consistent in the way you approach it each time, systematic. If you watch the pros, they have an exact routine, and they'll begin the same way each time, doing the same drills, doing the same thing, and then that's how you're going to have your consistency when you start your round. So I really encourage golfers to have their own routine, then also release expectations as they begin their round, because expectations really erode confidence when they're not met. Because you're expecting yourself to perform in a certain way at a certain time, but golf is such an unpredictable game. You should never know how things are going to turn out. So programming yourself, the day before, or setting a goal for yourself then helps you know what you want to build your game plan, but then you really just want to release those expectations as you begin the day and your actual warm-up routine.
Yeah, it's kind of like life. And that's for me why I love golf so much, is that it mirrors life in like a little mini version. So you have a 4-hour round or a 5-hour round, or somewhere in between 4 and 5 hours on average. And so you have some expectations. You think before you go, you want to shoot a certain score, or you're trying to. Same as in life. If the day starts, you have some goals that you want to achieve by the end of the day. And whether you're going to achieve those goals or not, you're really not sure. But as long as you're in process and you're doing the little things, in other words, paying attention to details, and that's same as we spoke of earlier, your pre-shot routine, the target, what kind of shot you're trying to produce. They're the details in preparation. And only worrying about doing the little things one at a time, not trying to shoot an 80 before you even tee it off in your head. So if you have a goal in life, and let's say, or a goal for the day, and most people, I think, they don't even look at in life the goal for the day. They look at the goal for their life, and then they try to make it happen in one day. So and we all know that anything that's worthwhile takes time. But the best way to get the most out of all those things is to each and every day do what you need to do to get a little bit closer to your goal. You may not reach your goal, but you will get closer. And it may not feel like you're any closer, but eventually you will get closer. I know that if you put one foot in front of another, it doesn't feel like you're going that far, and you turn around, and by the time the day's over, you might have walked 3 or 4 miles. So it's little things like that. I know that I'm starting to see that when I have one of these little hard apps in my iPhone that they put in there now, and it automatically is tracking my steps. So I try to keep my phone in my pocket all the time. And then I look at it and I go like, holy moly, I walked 5 miles today. Now I would never even have thought, and I climbed 12 flights of stairs. So I mean, I would never even have thought that I even did that. But essentially, when I look at it, I'm not thinking about, okay, today I'm going to walk 5 miles. I think that if I thought that to begin with, I probably wouldn't walk 5 miles. But if I just think about just going about my normal everyday routines and things that I have to do, it might end up that some days, if I'm a little bit busy, I might walk 5 miles. Other days I might walk 3.5. But I average somewhere around 5,000 steps a day on average. So it's little things like that that if we continue to prep and when we're in our round of golf, just do the little things, worry about the shot that you got to do right now, then that big goal, you're not putting all that expectation on yourself.
Yeah, exactly. That's the right mindset. And your long-term goals really help you determine your process goals. When you can actually break down a long-term goal, you know what needs to be done, and you can actually see what kind of actions are going to be consistent with that long-term goal to help you get there. And then when you just begin, you just want to focus on those little consistent process goals, and that really helps you become present-minded. It just takes the pressure off of you, and you can just relax a little bit more. And then you find that, your progress will start to improve, and it's never a straight line to your goal or to success. You're always going to have peaks and troughs, and you got to follow this wave to success. And this takes time. And knowing that that it's not going to be a smooth sailing journey, that's how it's going to be. That helps you understand and be a little bit more accepting and a little bit more relaxed as you work towards the things you want to achieve.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is, as you said earlier too, is to try to stay positive. I know that it's not easy to stay positive when things aren't going your way. Is there any little self-talk that you suggest to your students to help them when things aren't going their way, to kind of bring it back and get a little bit positive?
Yeah, I think mindset is really a choice. There's a choice between the positive and the negative. Usually you can find something positive if you really are focusing on it. So it's a shift in focus. That's a big change. And also doing what you mentioned earlier about just having that being gentle on yourself, talking to yourself as if you're one of your daughters or one of your sons, something like that. Having that friendly mindset and really encouraging yourself and saying, hey, we did our best there, we committed to that, and we knocked it here, let's go get up and down, or just things like that. Focusing on what is going well or what you want to accomplish. It's really a shift from getting away from what's not working, what you don't like, what you didn't do, to what you want to do, to what you can do. So it takes time, but I've noticed with my students that it's a progressive thing. They begin to become, once they become aware of it, awareness is the big catalyst for change. Once you become aware of things, you can begin to change them. And so that just builds up and progresses when I notice that my students have something to focus on, a little process goal being positive, making ticks on their scorecard when they actually had a good process or they focus on what they wanted to achieve. So those kind of things all help.
Do you have them do that outside of the golf too? So in other words, in their life, kind of have a little bit more positive self-talk about things in general? Just because I know that some people have a tendency to look at the glass half empty all the time. in life. So then those people I have found who are my students, their game is like that too. They have they're looking at the bad parts that they're doing. They're not looking at the upside of things, of how they're starting to improve. So if I think that they can kind of overall in life in general kind of get in that mode to have a little bit more positive self-talk, then it's going to be a lot easier for them when it's time to work on their golf game also. But if you're constantly used to having a little bit more of a negative outlook on things outside of the golf course, you're probably going to take that into your game too. So, I mean, is that something that you try to encourage in your students?
Absolutely. It's having that mindset. Really, you can't turn it on and off. It's not a switch. So being able to be consistent with that, and be able to have that mindset at home and just at work, anything in your actual life, is perfect preparation for golf. You can actually practice your golf and improve your golf when you're doing other things. That mindset carries through in everything you do. So how you do one thing is how you do another. So yeah, it's just an opportunity to actually work on your golf game in other parts of life, and applying that attitude takes time, but it definitely gets better with a bit of practice.
Yeah, I mean, I think that a positive self-image, and always having positive self-talk can do wonders for your game and wonders for your life, and make you a lot happier person all around. And if you're happier all around, then when the little things go wrong, like you hit one in the woods or in the water, you're not going to get as upset about it, because you know that there's plenty more shots to come, and there's always time to make things up, and that's okay. That's golf. I mean, and that's okay. It's life. If you run into traffic and you're going to be 5 minutes late, don't stress yourself out. Just don't worry about it. You'll get there, and when you do, things will be fine. And if it's not, then maybe it wasn't meant to be to begin with.
Yeah, and I like to give my students 4 or 5 get out of jail cards, where if they hit a bad shot or they do something, they can use one of these cards and say, hey, yeah, I've made a mistake. I use this card, now I can just get on with it because I accept it. I'm allowed to have a few mistakes each round, and that really helps golfers relax and be more positive, because they know that they can be more accepting of their errors.
I like that a lot. I like that get out of jail free card, because what that's saying to the players is it's okay to hit bad shots. It's going to happen. So if you have that little card, you can say, all right, I'm not going to take a mulligan. I'm not going to hit the shot again. But what you can do is mentally say, it's okay, there's my bad shot card. So I know that Jack used to say, there's only so many, and who I mean by Jack, and we all know who Jack is, but I'll reiterate. Jack Nicklaus. Jack Nicklaus used to say, hey, you know what? There's only so many bad shots in a round, and then so once you get them out of the way, all you got left is good ones.
Exactly.
So, and if you kind of talk to yourself like that, you can start to believe it, and things will work out. So, for anyone first, before we wrap this up, because we're kind of winding down to the end of our time here, but tell us where you're located, and so that folks who are within a certain distance can get to you, and if they can't get to you, how they could actually work with you in some way if they can't physically get to you.
So we're an online golf academy. It's Complete Player Golf, and there I'm the mental game coach, and I help golfers who are serious about playing better golf develop a complete approach to the game and really extracting their best golf, because we've identified 5 essential elements, and they're all connected to each other. So if you really want to perform at your best, you need to have that complete picture there. And so we have a mental game program called Think Well, Play Great. So if golfers go to completeplayergolf.com, we actually have a free report there where they can rate their game, find out more about the 5 elements, and really see where they need to improve. There's also a trial of our mental game program, Think Well, Play Great, and that's really going to help them learn and apply the mental game using the caddy mind, the player mind, and having that positive approach there. And yeah, I do one-on-one coaching, which can be done online via Skype or phone. And you can send me an email to liam@completeplayergolf.com and just say hello, and I'll be happy to answer any questions that any of your listeners may have.
Great. Well, Liam, it was an absolute pleasure having you on the show. And what we always say in parting here is try to keep it in the short grass. I'm sure that you try that all the time anyway.
Will do. Thanks, Bernard. It's been great.
All right. Take care.
You've been listening to Breaking Par with Bernard Sheridan, the only weekly golf instructional podcast that helps you take control of your game. Need help with a part of your game? Email us at parbreakers@gmail.com and we will cover your topic in a future show. You can also follow us on Twitter @parbreakers. For more tips and videos to help your game, go to www.parbreakers.com, where you learn to take control of your game.